Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dedicated Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. So wherever you're joining us from, let us know which social media platform you're joining us from, and also let us know where you're joining the session from. It's always fun to see the diverse audience that we get on the Dedicated Show. All right, with us today, we have Michal Klaus. He is the CEO of Ataccama, and we're going to talk about self-driving data management and the future of data quality. I really can't wait for the session. Data quality is something that people don't think about enough, in my opinion, and I think we don't talk about this topic enough. So I'm really hoping to cover a lot of ground here with Michal today. Before I bring him on, I just want to say, huge congratulations to Ataccama because they were recently named a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for data quality solutions. So really huge congratulations on that. I know they're also celebrating moving to a new office space. I saw some Ataccama cake and a big party online, and I'm like, wow, people are back in person again. So that was great to see. We are taking questions throughout the session. So as you're joining, if you have a question on something we're discussing, or if you have a question on, data management, data quality, where you think, if you want to share your opinion or if you want to ask questions, go ahead and put that into the chat. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Michal up on our stage here. Hello, Michal, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Kate, and thank you. Thanks for having us, having me, having Ataccama on the show. Thanks for the congratulations. And the last week in our new office, it was amazing. It was after 2 years, basically. We met in person, so everyone was really excited.
Yeah, I'm sure that was fun after 2 years of not seeing each other.
Yeah, it was great. I hope the people in the audience have the opportunity to meet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michal, for those not familiar with yourself or with Ataccama, I think it would be great if you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your journey with your company.
Yeah. So I'll start talking about the company. We started back in 2008. We are a spin-off. So I was working on data integration, data management projects, and we were constantly running into data quality problems. So we developed some piece of code which became popular. We decided to spin it off as a separate company. That's how history of Ataccama began. And it of course it's sometimes so. We started with really cleansing and monitoring the quality of the data. Then we added mastering the data. Then we added reference data management. Then we added issue resolution. So basically, as we were seeing the existing and future kind of requirements from customers, we were adding pieces to the platform. The key, I think, for us was that we were really developing it around one single base. So in that sense, the platform is quite unique. And the last addition to the platform was 2 years ago when we put a data catalog in the center of the platform. I'll be talking about how we are leveraging the metadata to actually automate everything around it. I can actually share a slide which is a little bit talking about the present, but a little bit also about the future. So Ataccama is in a broader sense in data management, but we are in something that I would call value-added data management. While we do have a lot of data integration functionality, our core value for our customers is that we are in various ways improving the data that they work with. And those kind of areas where we are improving the data is exactly what you see on the slide. And I actually also included these arrows to indicate what we see is kind of trending and what is not trending. So if I start with the data integration, I'm not saying data integration is not needed, but we don't see a lot of innovation or movement happening there, right? There are, of course, many new kind of tools. Basically, all the data platforms now they have own data integration technologies, but there is not a lot kind of happening. Whereas in the top, data quality, master data management, data governance, obviously, and the two, I would say, newcomers, which is data catalogs, which in a sense is replacing, or there is an overlap with metadata management and data privacy.
Yeah.
It's kind of what is really on the rise. So what we did over the years is that we've built a platform that's covering everything that you see on this slide. And our our kind of vision from the very beginning was, for one, we were really building it around one common base, one metadata repository, one common engine. uh,
Hmm.
but we also always wanted these things, these use cases, which some people, some organizations, some vendors, they see them as separate. We see
Hmm.
them as modules of, let's say, one problem. So you might, you might be looking at some problem with your data, but you might not know from the beginning whether you just need to cleanse it, or whether you need to apply some mastering, or whether you need to apply some lookup, some list of values, etc. So in that
Right.
sense, we see it as very connected.
Thank you for this. I think this is very helpful. And Ravit in the comments is already saying, he loves seeing these trends. One question I had was, especially maybe for those in the audience who are not as familiar with these concepts, it might be helpful if we just do a very quick overview of, what's the difference between something like data quality and data governance? Because a lot of times I do hear these terms used interchangeably. So maybe a quick overview of the concept here.
So that's a great question, because these terms are still a little bit kind of vague. But
Yeah.
before I answer the question, I want to say one thing which we have seen in the past, let's say, 2 years. Um, when we first kind of started to service our customers with our data quality, it was an engine, right, that was monitoring and cleansing data. When
Hmm.
we first started, um, the term data quality was kind of reserved for something very technical. You had some problems with some attributes in the database, or some particular fields on a report or something like this. So that's what was meant by data quality. But since then, it kind of in a sense it went in kind of upward spiral, and it collected almost all of these domains that I had on the slide. So
Yeah.
now, when you talk to a C-level executive, they talk about data quality, but they don't distinguish between those things. Maybe data governance, they understand a little bit more specifically, but everything else might be understood as quality of the data that the business needs to work with. So I'll comment on the individual boxes here, but the term of data quality, we believe, has kind of evolved from something very technical to something which is now relevant for business and includes all those disciplines.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
the term data governance, I believe, is rightly so reserved to the ability of the organization to set up rules, policies, and enforce the rules and policies, how the organization and individuals and teams are working with the data, what is and what is not possible, who has access to what, who is responsible for what, when it comes to managing data, basically.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, now, let's say, a year ago, there was a big extension of the term data governance to AI, right? The model governance, what the models are or are not doing, how it is relevant, whether it's broad enough in many senses, etc.
Right. Thank you for that. We had a question from Pramod, and I think this might be maybe a design thing, but it looks like the data integration arrow is trending downwards. Was that on purpose, or is it meant to like weave into data privacy?
Um, so the the way I'm looking at it is this: data integration used to mean your kind of typical ETL, or maybe real time ETL, right?
Hmm.
Data integration in real time, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And it is, of course, still happening, but it's happening in a different ways. And I believe a lot of the needs for having data integrated is now served via different other means, rather than how I would describe or understand data integration. So it is served by virtualization. It is served by data preparation. It might be served by what is built in the cloud platforms, right? Like Google, etc. So this kind of specific, narrowly defined data integration, I believe, is a little bit on the decline. That's what I meant by the arrow going slightly downward.
Okay.
I hope I'm not offending anyone. I'm not saying that it is not needed.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to quickly share with the audience that before you and I ever spoke, I actually watched your video on you were walking with someone else, I guess from Atacama, and you were getting into a self-driving car. And I thought that was first of all really cool. And I'm like, oh wow, like and there you were talking about self-driving data management. So that was really inspiring for me to connect to. I think it was a really great analogy that you made in that video, which we can share with people if they're interested. But I wanted to ask you, what does self-driving data management actually mean, and how do organizations pull that off?
So the analogy, we were kind of focusing a lot on this analogy, let's say a year or 2 years ago, um, uh, and it is about this. I believe people in the audience are in the data analytics space, right? So anyone who is now leveraging AI, data science, machine learning, it's primarily meant to, or it's primarily used for modeling something on the data for business purposes, or maybe technical purposes, but you know what I mean, right? Like
Hmm.
even if it was network monitoring, right? It's kind of a business outcome. Now, few years back, like 4 years ago, we realized that we believe that the future of what we are doing, the value-added data management, actually lies in applying the AI onto the data management itself. We
Hmm.
believe that the technologies can do so much more. I don't want to say autonomously, but in a very augmented way, thanks to the AI, and it's happening on multiple levels. It can be happening in each of the boxes that you saw on the previous slide. Like the data quality, of course, can be a lot based around AI
Hmm.
mastering, even governance. There are many smaller use cases where the technology can derive what should happen from the data, from the metadata, and from the past user behavior. So there is a lot of kind of point applications of the AI into individual subdisciplines. But
Hmm.
there is one other thing. You can also have the technology be intelligent in the sense of, okay, so I have some kind of raw data on the input, and I need some quality data on the output for whatever use case. And the technology could be smart in the sense, intelligent in the sense that it will figure out which of the functions of the broader data quality should be applied.
Hmm.
Should the technology only kind of fix whatever date formats?
Right.
Should it know that this attribute is probably coming from some list of values? That
Hmm.
should it know that this particular domain should be mastered? So there's also intelligence on this level, and in that sense, here comes the analogy, right? We believe that the users, and I'm using the term users in very broad sense because users are more and more machines, right? The
Right.
user should be able to ask for some quality data on some API, and the technology should be able to do whatever it takes to deliver the quality data. So in that sense, it's similar to getting into a self-driving car.
Right.
Whenever we will really have fully self-driving cars,
Yeah.
telling to the car, I'm going from Seattle to New York, this is the address, and you don't have to worry about anything else, right? So this was the high level analogy.
Wow. Yeah. And speaking of self-driving cars, that's my new goal in life. I actually want to get a self-driving car. I think that it just sounds so cool. Like you said, to go from Seattle to New York, or in my case, from New York to Seattle if I wanted to, because I'm already on the East Coast. But it's so cool. You just get in there, and I've seen other videos of just self-driving cars. I think that really is the future for transportation, but I also see this as the future for data management, for data quality. Just checking in on some of the comments and questions. So Christine, she says that this looks like a very holistic approach to data
Thank
quality
you, Christine.
management.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. We had a question here from Ravit, and he's asking, what's the best approach to get data quality right in the first place? Because I always think of data quality and data as water coming in through a water source and then going through different pipelines. And if you can get clean water to begin with, chances are it's going to stay clean throughout, the whole plumbing system.
Yep.
And same with data. So
That's a great question. I wonder how to answer it in a short manner, but because it really depends on the maturity of the organization. But
yeah.
if I was to take, let's say, mid-level maturity organization,
Mhm.
which might have some data quality monitoring, semi-manual or SQL based or something. And I'm a little bit biased because of what we are building, but what I would do now, I would probably um, deploy our new data catalog, because it's very very low impact, and it has a big value even in data quality, because the way it works, and I was talking about the intelligence, and the intelligence comes with automation.
Yeah.
So the way our catalog works is that you connect it to your data sources systems. It will crunch all the data, it will do the traditional profiling, but it will do a lot of machine learning to figure out some additional information. And only by connecting to the data sources, you will get very complete view of your data sources, including the data quality of each individual table or business domain, because the catalog will also apply business domains to your data. So you can,
Mhm.
for example, without doing anything, you can look at your customer domain and you will understand what the quality is. So this
Right.
is what I would take as a first step. And then depending on many specifics, you can go either by, there are various kind of ways from that point on. One would be you set up more specific monitoring. One would be you set up, again, automated data cleansing, so that you have some kind of step how to improve the quality. And when the organization is more mature, you can also apply some of these, let's say, more value added disciplines, like centrally managing your reference data, or mastering your data, etc.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would definitely start with the uh, very really low impact, high value, which is the automated data cataloging.
Okay. Yeah, and that's something that Atacama offers, right? The
Yeah,
data.
that's part of our offering.
Yeah, we had a question in here, but first I'll ask my first question is, what types of clients can use your products? And this is a sort of a multi question within one. So if you talk about the clients that you work with, I'm curious to know what industries, what regions you cover.
Yeah,
Also, you mentioned maturity levels, right? Do you work with companies that
yeah,
are at certain maturity levels? And then I'll have a follow-up question from
yeah.
Andrew once you go through that.
So a little bit from our history, our legacy is in retail finance, retail insurance, retail banking, which was one of the industries which had, of course, a lot of data, and
Hmm.
the data and the quality of the data was directly related to their, success, right, to their competitiveness.
Right.
And in a sense, that's where all these disciplines kind of emerged, right, started. And then this kind of wave traveled through other industries, like telco probably was the second, healthcare,
Mhm.
public, retail. Retail was a little bit late to join this kind of wave, but now, in some ways, the retail organizations that we work with, and I mean your kind of retail chains and e-shops, etc. Um, they, in a sense, they kind of jump forward. And this is how the kind of wave came. And we think we were to some extent kind of driving the way. Maybe we were part of this way. So our kind of beginnings are in organizations where you have a lot of data. The data is crucial, and focusing on quality might, provide big business benefits. Now,
Mhm.
the one thing that's also happening as the technologies are getting much easier to use, thanks to the cloud, thanks to the focus on business users. um, this whole kind of need for quality data is is extending to even smaller organizations, which typically the organizations don't have to be small in terms of revenues or things like that, but they might be, we used to work with companies from whatever tens of millions of records up. But now we have, just for example, one specific niche is so-called London insurance market, which is kind of ecosystem where uh, the cost of poor quality is quite high, the
Mhm.
benefits are big, but they might have couple hundreds thousands records, right?
Right, right. All
I
right.
can actually show a slide where we have some of the logos if people are interested.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool to see.
um, yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned, the financial services was and still is our kind of strongest vertical. Recently there is a lot of development in pharma, healthcare, telco and retail, and then we have customers. Again, typically it's large organizations. Um, Sometimes they don't kind of fall into any of the verticals.
Mhm.
American Airlines or Starbucks and people like that.
I recognize almost all of those. So that's awesome. You have some great clients. One question from Andrew in terms of clients, has anyone applied your technology to building automation data?
Building automation data. Um, to
We can
be
ask for
honest,
clarification on that if you'd like, because I was also
maybe if Andrew could clarify. I can if I switch the words, building data automation, I could answer the question, but I'm not sure if that was.
that's what I thought it was. But Andrew, if you wanna hop back in the
Yeah.
chat and let us know where you're talking about, building data automation. Joseph just says, impressive client portfolio. So
Thanks,
that
Joe.
yes. All right, going back into questions, there was one from Luke, and he's asking, how much is the automation of data quality the future?
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's a great question. That's a really good question.
yeah,
Um,
so
I wasn't hoping that someone will ask the question, but here it is.
yeah,
Um,
so do you think it
so
can completely replace the human touch, or do we need to run them in parallel?
I think it has to run in parallel. I think the hopes that the machine learning based, some people call it predictive data quality. I don't know what's predictive about it, but the AI driven data quality, we call it pattern based, right? Data
Mhm.
quality, I think it's extremely valuable, but there are and there will be many use cases where you don't want to go with this approach. You want to go with, let's say, traditional rule based, and even the rule based can be augmented by AI. We have in the platform is suggesting the rules, but you
Mhm.
still want to go with the rules. If it was only for the reason that you have 10, 20 years of history within the organization, that people kind of crowdsourced what it mean to have a high quality information on whatever purchase orders, accounts, customers, etc. And this know-how does exist. So our approach actually is, in this sense, it is dual. We are big believers in the AI based approach to DQ, but we are also big believers that you need to have a very good, very powerful, very easy to use rule-based data quality,
Mhm.
for the reason that I mentioned, also for the so-called white box approach, because some of the AI approaches actually don't. It's not so easy to understand why the algorithm made a decision. This is or isn't a high quality piece of
Hmm.
information, and in some cases you have to have it,
Right.
the traceability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That absolutely makes sense. And Andrew came back with some clarifications on his question. So, two things. One, he says the data that comes from building sensors, and then
Oh, I see.
he
I
says
see.
that
You
building
mean,
owners are now looking to use this data to apply AI and machine learning to gain energy efficiency,
yeah,
but the
yeah,
historical data is low
yeah.
quality from
Okay.
renewable.
So thank you, Andrew. I would kind of include it in under what we understand as IoT based data quality, which is a
Hmm.
very interesting domain for us. It's surprisingly, it has, because we think that this is exactly where there is a room for the pattern based data quality. It's basically about distinguishing the problems in the signal, right?
Hmm.
So we believe the what we are offering is very very kind of relevant, very useful. At the same time, somehow it seems like that ecosystem uh, doesn't see them, their data similar to other types of data. So we are actually more in what I would call education phase. And your original question was whether we have a client that's using it for
Right.
building data. We don't at the moment. If you know of a situation, we would be happy to discuss, try to convince whoever that, and maybe we will learn something along the way.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, guys, if you got a use case and you want Ataccama's help, contact Michael and or someone from the team, and I'm sure they'll follow up. Okay, great. We had a comment here from Juan, and he says, AI and data quality looks a lot like ETL that took place for data integration and migration, which helped to improve efficiency and agility to manage data. So, do you think it's similar to what happened to the ETL world that's now happening in data quality?
Yes, yes. If I understand the comment correctly, um, so AI in data quality, I believe is similar to, um, or there is a similar room to automate the data integrations, and to some extent, but we are not positioning ourselves as data integration vendor,
Right.
but the concept of data quality fabric that I'll be talking about, it actually does apply this intelligence onto integrating and providing the data as well, not only to understanding its quality or improving its quality, but also to understanding where the data is, how to put it together, how to provide it to the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just said the magic word, the data fabric. When I was on your site preparing for the session, I saw the data fabric, and I was thinking that this could be an interesting part for of the conversation, maybe to educate the audience a little bit about what is this data fabric and how does data quality play a role in that.
Yeah. So we've been having this discussion both with the market and Gartner actually for about 2 years about data fabric. And data fabric is another iteration of a magic that people in data world were hoping to have. Data fabric without the quality in it uh, is kind of very simple concept, and it is this really magical layer which sits on top of your data sources, between your data sources and existing and future data consumers. And the data fabric works in this way that you connect to the data fabric. You don't have to understand at all where the data is, what it looks like, nothing. You just connect to the data fabric, you ask for data, and you
Mm-hmm.
will get it. And you will get it with, of course, all the governance, all the security, in our case, with the quality applied.
Yeah.
So in very simple terms, this is the data fabric. Now, um, it is important to kind of also mention that um, this concept is, of course, it is able to serve, I would say, the typical analytical use cases, but to big extent it is meant to serve the, let's say, operational use cases. You need a data for your yet another, machine learning model, or for your yet another new app that is supporting a new product, etc. So the
Hmm.
data fabric should be able to, of course, cover all the integration patterns, um, and it should be able to serve both users and machines, or algorithms. Now, we when we talk about data fabric, we actually decided to include the word quality in it, so we call it data quality fabric, um, in order to emphasize that our version of the data fabric has all those quality functions built into it, and in I hope not so distant future, it will actually also have the kind of beautiful intelligence, magical intelligence, that it will know which of these functions to apply as the data is being processed for the consumer.
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining that. We've also got Doug Laney giving us a link to a Gartner piece on
Yeah,
the data
hi
fabric.
Doug. Yes, Mark is the person with whom we had the discussion for a long time. It's
Okay.
actually interesting, how both Gartner and us and maybe some other vendors um, still kind of are in this phase, educating why, why data fabric, how it is valuable, etc. But I
Yeah.
just saw the Gartner Summit kind of top trends, and I noticed data fabric is trend number one. So maybe it's a breakthrough. I don't know.
All right. Well, let's keep an eye on that. I actually wanted to ask, when can organizations expect to have this magical layer, as you described, available for, just everyday use? Like, what year do you think will be in?
Thank you. I can actually, again, I can share a slide.
Okay.
Um,
There we go.
so this is kind of our, let's say, marketing view of the data fabric, and the idea is, as I mentioned, um, the fabric understands where the data is. It understands everything, what access rights you need, what is the quality of the data. It actually has ways to pre-process the data so that it can quickly provide higher quality data, etc. So anyone who connects to the fabric will be able to get the data they need in the best possible quality. Um,
Hmm.
so that's the concept. Now, to your question, what where we are today is that we've introduced what we call Gen 2, Atacama 1 Gen 2, in March this year. And Atacama 1 Gen 2 has all the functionalities that we're talking about. And part of the functionalities, by the way, all the functionalities have built in, and we are still kind of continuing, but all the functionalities have AI-based augmentation built in. So the quality is rule-based and pattern-based. The mastering has, AI augmentation, etc.
Hmm.
Now, um, the core switch when we introduce Gen 2 is this: we put the catalog in the middle, and everything is now kind of coming driven by the metadata that we have in the catalog.
Okay.
And in some of these use cases, the automation, in the sense of, you have the metadata in the catalog, you might, as a user, you might, update it or modify. So for example, if the catalog processing decided this group of attributes is whatever, your purchase order data maybe, and the user spots that the AI was wrong, you can update it, etc. Now, so you have this in the catalog, then um, driving the data quality monitoring and to some extent reference data management now is automated in the sense that it has the intelligence that I was talking about. So
Mhm.
you can go to our DQ module and you can very easily select the data assets, and you can say, I just want to monitor quality here,
Yeah.
and the platform will suggest the rules. The platform will apply the machine learning based data quality, and if as a user you are happy, you don't have to do anything else. You still might want to modify it, but so where I'm heading, part of the features, the functionalities that I talked about, is already on this level of intelligence.
Mhm.
Part of the features, like mastering, is already connected to the catalog, but there is still the user in the middle. So, for
Yeah.
example, um, the modeling of your master data, there are some templates. The modeling is now related to the catalog, so it takes all the metadata from the catalog. To some extent, it helps with the modeling, but the user is still required to do some work there. So
Okay.
that's where we are today. We have a plan which is now for 18 months to bring everything on this magical layer of automated intelligence.
Okay, so in 18 months we'll see magic. Guys, make sure you follow Ataccama, follow Michael Klaus to make sure you're, on top of all these trends.
You can see magic today, but you will see more magic.
I think they're always ready for magic. We had a quick question here from Lalith, and he's asking, if there are white papers available that talk about some of the capabilities, or how Atacama has solved a few of the data issues that you discussed.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. If you go to our website, and I'm actually not sure, you probably have to register, but
Mm.
there is now quite a rich set of use cases which talk both about the business issues, the related data issues, how it was solved.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we can put that we can send links in the comments after the session as well
Yeah.
to direct folks to additional resources. Okay, great. We had a cool question here from Christine, and this is actually a topic I wanted to cover as well. It's all around data visualization and how it plays a role. It's a big comment, but I'll get through it quickly. So it basically, she shares an interesting article on just thought principles for data
Wow.
visualization. And she says the holistic data quality management approach that you shared reminded her of the application of Gestalt principles. Do you think that do you think what AI may need to consider is incorporating more of a holistic approach to resolving human concerns in AI design? And then let's follow that question up with the role
Yeah.
of data
Yeah.
visualization in
Yeah.
data quality.
Yeah. So thanks for the question. I'll be honest. I'm not familiar with the Gestalt principle for data quality. I'll definitely look it up. I understand. Is it related to the psychotherapy term?
So yeah, the Gestalt principles basically literally means parts of a whole, and it's all about data visualization and how
Okay.
when things
Okay.
are grouped together, we think they belong together, or
Yeah.
when they're
Great.
yeah,
Okay, I understand. So
yeah.
the first part of the question. Um, so we what we I'll tell you what we did, and hopefully it also answers the question. So up until October last year, I believe, Atacama was the platform that basically provided high quality data
Okay.
to your Tableaus or Power BIs or MicroStrategy, more and more to your ODS or data warehouse or systems in general, right? Now, we've noticed that users of our profiling or the catalog profiling, they are using it to some extent as a tool to understand, to visualize the data, because the catalog has some way to visualize, the profiles of the data, etc. And an opportunity came. We came across a data visualization tool which shared exactly the same approach to automating as much as possible, applying AI to the discipline itself.
Hmm.
The tool is called Telstra. So we've acquired the company. We've, to a big extent, actually redevelop the backend of the tool so that it still is one platform. And we are about to launch it as a for now as a loosely connected module to the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of this is that it tries to um, understand and predict how the data that the user selects in the catalog, how it would be best visualized so that it gives the right insight for the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So we really like this approach that you as a user don't have to go through a very elaborate way of configuring your whatever domains at dimensions and whatever. You just say, I have these three tables, visualize the data somehow, and it tries to figure it out and visualize it for you. You can of course tweak it, but the approach really is to automate the configuration part of it as much as possible. I hope it is somewhat related to what Christina was asking.
Yeah, I think so. And Christine, you want us to dig deeper into something, follow up with another comment, please. I think that answers the question. She did have a question around the magic layer here, and she's asking, will it involve integrating CBT principles from psychology, so cognitive behavioral therapy? I
Not
googled CBT, so
these questions are getting tougher and tougher. So not at the moment, Christina. We actually, but it's. I'm actually delighted and surprised that the question came,
yeah.
because our UX team is actually pushing a lot in this direction. To be honest, until now, I to some extent felt that there is not a lot of demand from the market, but maybe there is.
Yeah, something to think about. So Christine, thanks for pointing that out. And I know we're getting close to the end of the session, but I really want to make sure we cover, and I know we touched on this a little bit throughout the whole session, is what you're thinking as, the future of data quality and the future of Ataccama. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what do you hope to accomplish in the next couple of years, and what do you think we're going to see in this space?
Thank you. So the future, I believe the future is driven by few kind of drivers, few principles. Um, I'm a big believer in automation and in general supporting the data citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we are developing the platform. That's why we came up with a Gen 2, the holistic view of data quality. Now I have to add something that kind of goes in contrary, but I also believe that it will never solve 100% of the needs, that you still need to have. You need to enable the data citizens, but especially for the cases where what we are doing is meant to feed algorithms and systems, machines.
Mm-hmm.
You need the data engineers to be able to define the APIs and whatnot. So on one hand, there is definitely a lot of we will see a lot of development on supporting the data citizens through the automation, through the intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
But our belief is that um, in of course we want to make them as productive as possible, but we also want to support the data engineers. So that's one driver. Um, I believe that you know. The data quality was typically seen in the context of analytics or decision making, right?
Right.
Um, I believe that if it hasn't happened already, majority of the consumers of data and quality data will not be users for decision making. It will be machines, algorithms. So I think that's a clear trend as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I already talked about it. In general, I don't think that the AI applied to the quality and even data integration will will be able to exist on its own. I think we will still need the rule-based, in a very general sense, the rule-based approach to things, where accumulated knowledge can be imported to the tool and leveraged. You don't want to throw away, what you've been working on for a long time. So these are the principles in terms of what you will hopefully see from Ataccama. It's the magic that I talked about.
Yeah.
There's already a lot of magic happening. There will be more magic coming. I believe we will get to the point where at least part of the use cases you will really be able to do in the self-driving way via the data quality fabric. Yeah.
But we'll still need somebody sitting in the car in the driver's seat just in case, right? For the in the meantime. So it's
Yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely. And we are paying attention to the white box approach. We believe that's related to our legacy in finance. Everything needs to be explainable. Everything needs to be traceable. Not another black box.
Okay, got it. Well, Michael, I really want to thank you for this discussion. I think it's really insightful. I know we still have several questions that came in, and I'm sure more will come in even after the live session. So if you have the time, or someone on the team can go in and respond to some of those questions, that'd be great. But I really want to thank you for educating everybody, on the future of data quality, self-driving data management, the magical concept of the data fabric. I think it was really helpful. And last question for you is, where can people go to continue the conversation? Or I know you pointed to some resources already, and I think I saw Joellen post some links in there. But where can people go to continue having the conversation?
Absolutely. I hope we have a good, very rich website. So if you go to www.ataccama.com, you will be able to navigate to the case studies, the description of the fabric, the functionality of the individual use cases. It's all there. We are, of course, also happy to welcome you on any of our webinars. We've also are doing joint webinars with EDM Council. Some of you might be familiar. Whenever the opportunity comes, we will do all the conferences, including the Gartner conferences, the industry events, things like that. So, and if it does happen, I'm probably going to be to the key conferences myself. So I'm happy to meet whoever will join there.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the Dedicated show, and we'll see everybody online. And thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate all the engagement, questions, and comments that came in. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks to the audience for the great questions. Some of them I needed to think quite hard, which is a good sign.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.